Hello, good evening, good morning, or good afternoon. I don't know wherever you are. Always get confused about how to give enter here. But wherever you are, welcome to to the Out of the Box Developers. We are starting our session. It's the first session of the year, so happy New Year for everyone. I hope everyone had great holidays and full of energy to start this year, and a lot of questions also to give us, so we can answer anything that you are looking after. And I want to call already my good friend that is always with me in the sessions, and he's Java champion. He is an AI consultant specialist, and yeah, welcome, Money. Hello, how are you, man?
Oh, hey, Hugo. Happy New Year. Thank you for having me here again.
New Year.
And those are very many titles you've given me. I don't think I deserve all of those.
Oh
But
no,
thank
no.
you anyways.
All of them are real titles, so you deserve all of them. And well, today we'll have a lot of questions to actually we are discussing the backstages that we got a lot of questions during the last year, and now there are a collection of them that we want to address here, and because actually they are all things that people are challenges that people have during their day-to-day jobs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But also, it's mainly um, those questions are related to everything else that people are doing. And even if you answer the other questions, these questions they don't get answered, or they don't get, even if we answer it every time, there's a different answer every time. So they don't you cannot fully answer these questions and finish with them. They have a lot more dimensions to it. So yeah, absolutely. We have not a lot of questions left, because I think we tried to cover
Okay.
many of them. But because also we didn't add any new ones last year, because there were a lot of questions coming out from all the discussions. So yeah, let's see how this goes. I'm very excited about the questions that we have this time, because I just had a glance of them before we started.
And well, to help us with to answer all these questions, we also have our member also on the out of the box developer that is helping us. He's also a Java specialist. He was already an architect, manager. He put many hats through all the whole career, and he is now with us, helping us, bringing lots of great content. So I want to welcome Pedro. Hey, Pedro, how are you?
Hey Hugo, thank you very much. And I think when you say so many titles there, I feel old. I know that.
Okay.
Yeah, there is no other way to get to have different experiences in during our professional life, right? And then, but yeah, I thank you and Manny to to invite me to be here. So I think we can have a good conversation today.
Oh, thanks. I don't know what you guys have with titles. I will stop mentioning titles then in the future.
You can
And to
never
help
win, right?
us,
If you
yeah.
don't mention, you can never win. If you don't mention titles, then it feels like what? Only my name was mentioned. And if you mention titles, oh my God, so many titles.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I will choose the last one then. And to help us also with this first session, we invited our guest. He is. I will continue with the titles, but he is a Java developer. He is also leader of the Soul Java community, the biggest community here in the world of Java. And yeah, so Gabriel, hey, how are you, man? Thanks for joining us.
Hi guys, thanks to invite me and happy new year for all. I wish the best. And you say I don't have a lot of titles. I don't have a lot of experience.
Well, but that's cool that you joined us to actually enter in these discussions and also bring your point of view about the questions that we'll be sharing right now. I'm kind of making some suspense about the questions, but this whole session we would like to talk about what we are all after these days in the market because of the boom of development is actually the source of our work. That is the good developers, right? Every company that works with software or that needs software are looking after good developers because well, that's becoming a high demand for a lot of business that we have nowadays. It, and all of this transformation of business being all business becoming how can I say a digital business.
Yeah.
It made this happen, right? So actually, I already have lots of difficulties in this topic in where I am working right now because it's really a challenge. We have the following questions: how we can start with how we can attract good developers in our project or teams. Because I'm a manager with a huge teams of developers, and it's all every time I have to interview people to bring new people to our team. It's always a big challenge because there are many good developers and they also have lots of good other good opportunities. So they will be competing all the time with other companies, and it's always there's a moment where some companies have lots of can bring and
Yeah.
give better opportunities than others. So it's always a challenge for me. I don't know if you guys have some experience with that. I would like to hear a little bit about this reality for you guys in the both sides, right? I'm a manager, so I can bring like management challenges, but as a developer, as a consultant. So how does it work, affect you guys?
Oh, all right. And my point eight, or I hear my voice. Maybe have an echo. All right.
It's fine.
Yes, it's now it's perfect. In my opinion, for get a good develops to project, you need give inspiration. You if you make a interview with a developer, you need how can say sold a good image or a good technology. You're working, or one example, you're working with the last gen feature Java, or one example. If you developer here it is the years in the develop it's, oh my gosh, I need to work this because it's a good opportunity. Or another example, in my opinion, uh, developers don't work only to compensation, but working with the project and the heavy inspiration, not heavy inspiration, like projects have connection with develop. I don't know. One example, my profile like in the bank software, and if I work a bank software, I'm feeling so good, and my compensation not very high, but not very low. It's intermediating, and I'm feeling happy. I don't know. I see this point.
I think that it reminds me about this the change we had about the view of work when we about view of job what we see as a successful job. In the past, it was really characterized with two attributes. That is the money, the salary that you get, and the position that you get. If you have high salary and high position, it is enough to say, "Oh, I'm successful." But nowadays, I think I don't remember. I see an image from somewhere. I'm out of reference here, but nowadays we see a lot of other things like the quality of your life, the time you have to do to expand, to grow in your knowledge and experiences that you have. And one very interesting topic that I see is about the emotional safety, right? The psychological safety that you feel in that group. It isn't. It doesn't anymore so attractive when you have high salary, high position, but you don't feel trust or trusted by anyone inside the company. That's a really stressful environment. At least for me, it does make a lot of sense.
Yep.
Yeah, I
see this one.
I think from the other side, like you were sharing about your manager side, right? So a few tips would be, how do you, like the question itself says, right? Um, how do you attract good developers to a project or team? So that means your project or your team should look attractive, right? It's the same thing again in another way. So now let's go back to that and say, how do you make your project or your team attractive? Right now, it's not just project or your team. The project is your team and your team is your project, right? Let's take it that way. So both need to be attractive, not just one, right? Because if one is attractive and the other one isn't, it's still 50-50, right? Sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 40-60, right? Okay. But still, it's not a balance. A proper would be both are attractive. Like, so how do you make each one of them attractive? And they need to be genuinely attractive, not like how advertising companies do. They make something ordinary look super extraordinary, right? Not like that. It needs to, because software developers are also people. They'll figure it out in a few months' time. If that is a glamour, in a few months' time, the novelty will be lost. Sometimes in a month's time, sometimes in a year's time. And then when when you lose them, you lost their trust forever. Because as human beings, sometimes we can be unforgiving, right? Oh, it all depends, circumstance, all that stuff. So now, if you go back to that thing, how do you make your project attractive? How do you make your team attractive? Right? That's where the answer lies, right? So how do you make it attractive? But attractive is a very subjective word as well, right? There's a general attractiveness, but there's also subjective attractiveness. In every region, every culture, a team or a project will be attractive in a different way. Like the projects that are attractive here in Europe or in the UK may be ordinary projects somewhere else in the world, right? And vice versa. Same with what's attractive in the US. It seems what's attractive in the US is attractive everywhere in the world, right? But that's not true with what's attractive somewhere else in the world. They may not be attractive in the US, right? So now you narrow it down to subjective and circumstantial attractiveness of your project and your team. And finally, the problem here is your project can be confidential, right? It has an IP, even if it's a very ordinary company. And your team, you don't need to be putting pictures and photos of all the members of your team every time you put an advertisement for a developer, right? Oh, these are all the great developers working for us. Because there's a danger there as well, because you might lose your team to somebody else. They might poach your team members, but also there's privacy issues there, right? I'm going a bit literal here, but you will still have to pitch a story to the people you're talking to that I'm working on so and so project and I'm working on so and so team, and that pitch must hold good all the way through. So you have to be transparent, honest, and authentic. This is a hard task. I'm not saying I do it well. I don't know how I do it. I don't do the pitching of getting developers, all that stuff. So I don't know how that is done. But if someone has to do it, then it has to be authentic. And so what they tell you from the beginning must hold good all the way through in the journey. Because once you do that, then you instill trust immediately. Once you get the trust, then your project is attractive, then your team is attractive. Right? Because I said, right, attractiveness is subjective. I think the key here is trust. And once that trust is there, then you'll say, okay, it's okay. Just now the project doesn't have interesting components in it. I'll still work with it because I know I'm confident in you and your team and your project that this will grow into something interesting. And I know that there are 5 other team members, and they know like 5 different technologies that I want to learn from them, and they're eager to teach me. I'm happy to be in this team, even if this piece of work is not very interesting, because I'm going to get to learn so and so thing after work or at lunchtime or during the weekend or during the break or during work hours, right? So this is just a very simple example. So that's my answer to that question, which isn't even complete answer. We've only just started to unravel the thing. So I don't know. What do you think, Gabriel? Pedro and Hugo are nodding their heads. What is your view on it? What do you feel about it?
Yeah, I completely agree. There's lots of subjective points here, so it's the problem here is that we are not only talking about technology or interesting projects, but we are talking uh, what the professionals want to his careers, right? So,
Exactly.
for example, when there are lots of people that they are looking for something to work with some good and interesting technology, but what the interest technology that they like, not the interest technology that you like or the other people like, and other and there are lots of variables in this case. So, and when we are working, when we are in an interview, for example, most of the time it's the only moment that you can know uh, in which team you're gonna work and in which project you're gonna work, because it's not possible to find this outside. Like, oh, I'm going to interview with a company. I may know which product this company have. It depends on the domain of and the business domain of the company, right? But most of the time we don't know. uh, and you have this small time, the interview, where the professional needs to find out all these things, and the interviewer needs to sell what they have and try to figure out if this match with this professional. So it's really difficult to handle using the process we have today, the interview process, to have this handled correctly, I can say, or
Yeah.
handle it in a way that everyone wins. Everyone
Exactly.
gets. That's the problem for me. And even so, we still maybe what I think in this case, well, at least what I have done when I was doing my interviews and when I was being interviewed, uh, I tried first of all I try to understand the other side. Uh, which technology do you like to work? How do you like to work? How was your previous experience in teams? We know that the software developer has some normal things. We have teams. We have things to deliver. We have most of them. We have process. Most of today's company use agile process. So, which kind of agile process did you use it? So all these common things should be handled. And there are other that are just professional things like, I need to go to the office, I can work remotely. How some there are these common company things that we still need to discuss with this guy in this 1 hour time. So well, we all know the problem, the difficulties. What I do is what Manny says. Oh, I try to sell the project. So show which technology what we are using. Show that the team is a good team that likes to share things to each other. You can learn a lot here. You can teach if what you know, even if you are a real junior, or because everyone has moments that can help each other. So I try to show that, the team is good, the day-to-day work is good, right? And then I see if it matches what the guy the professional wants. So that's my idea of this. But well, there is many variables, and we can talk here of each one of them all night, I can say.
I'm curious to. I just want to invite the audience to. If you have, I have a question for the audience actually. What actually do you think it's attractive for you, for a team, for a project, for each of you? I think that's a good question because what I understand from what Pedro just said is to listen, right? Listen what the other sides are looking for, and actually that is very important because I have this I'm gonna say this the challenge to actually it doesn't matter if the person is if the other side have great skills but it's not interested in what your project has to offer or what the challenge that your project has. There's no advantage to continue this conversation and to try to hire, even if it is a really great developer. It won't be happy for him. It won't be good for him. It won't be good also for the company since it won't match those things. So that's a very interesting point. Most of people. I see a lot in our industry markets that people look only for the hard skills. Oh, I don't know a JavaScript framework. I know a Java a web framework, and I know lots of other tools. But actually, a few ask questions about what kind of problem, and in the both side, right? A few says what kind of problem they want to solve. A few developers say what kind of problem they want to solve, and a few companies ask what kind of problem they are interested to solve because we solve this kind of problem, right? And in my interview sessions, I try to be. I do also many interview sessions with candidates here to my team, and I have tried to address this kind of question. And it's fun because sometimes if the developer is very young, I can't expect a lot of this. I know exactly what I want. That's not a that's not a reality for young people. It's they are just exploring. They're just not want to know what kind of opportunities they have. But for experienced guys, yeah, they really have something already. If they have already, I don't know, 3 years of experience, they already know somehow what kind of problem they want to solve, right?
Yeah, I think it's a good point there, and it is so very different. I have been to so many different types of interviews. Ones in which they are going to they're going to screen you from all directions to see every cell of your body is suitable for the job, right? And then the other one, they'll just have a chat with you, and they'll get the confidence, the gut feeling, the intuition that yes, you know the stuff, you can do it. And that you'll be yet another who will have various levels of screening process, and in one of the screening processes you won't fit, and you're out, right? You got like 21 interviews with these big companies, right? Am I saying it right? 9 interviews I heard in some companies, but then it's some companies are probably doing more than that, or some companies are even doing less. Some companies are still in hours conversation, and you're in, right? And maybe 2 more interviews, 1 hour each, but on different with different people for different reasons, right? Not technical interviews. And then there are ones that do 9 levels of technical interviews before they let you in. Look, 7 levels of technical interviews, and then 2 more non-technical interviews, and then you're in, right? And then there are some companies who will make you solve complicated algorithms. Then if you ask them, and I've had this conversation with a company a long time ago, I asked them, okay, you're going to ask me these questions. Are you using those kinds of things at your workplace? Are you solving those kinds of problems that you're going to make me answer questions of that nature? And they don't have an answer. So they are interviewing you for A, and they're using you for B, right? If you don't pass A, you cannot do B. So I don't understand that logic, right? It is not even practical enough. I mean, so I never went through some of those interviews because clearly they would say you have to go to do 1 hour of this, and we will check it out. And then I asked them, do you really work like this? When I finished conversation with them, like, does every developer in your company do all these steps? And actually, that's not the case. That's just an interview process. The steps are done differently in the company. There probably isn't a step. Like I asked them, do you put a timer on the table to say in 30 minutes, in 15 minutes, you got to complete this. Otherwise, I cannot merge your pull request ever. You don't tell them that, right? So that's what they
And
do.
you
They give
and
you a
you
30
cannot
minutes.
go to Google, and you cannot look at in a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everybody's got a different definition of clean code, right? Only their definition of clean code applies to your code base, and they won't even discuss it with you. It's a one-way ticket. They will tell you how it is. Okay, it's not good. Out. You're out. There are companies I know, they will discuss it with you before they say, sorry, we're not going further because I think all of these things, we have a difference in our way of style of doing. That's a little bit fair, right? Because they are kind of telling you where you are working differently than them, and that's possible as well, and that's acceptable. But then what if somebody just tells you in an email or a one liner, sorry, your code was not acceptable? Like, which parts of it will you give me an opportunity to also discuss it with you? Because you learn as well, right? So lots of companies are doing this as well. So that these are not traits of attractive project, attractive team. And also, a lot of times people are just going into the market for the sake of hiring somebody. Because I've asked a lot of people when I've talked to them, what kind of work will I be doing once I'm hired and I'm working with you? Like, hypothetically, can you name me a project? Oh yeah, we've got lots of interesting projects. You don't worry about it. And usually they are hiring somebody for a generic thing that they can use for multiple projects. But then they should be transparent about it, right? Look, we can't name your concrete project, but these are the types of projects it could be, and things like that. So see, that's where if you ask the question, is your team attractive, is your project attractive, that's where it boils down to, because they are not pitching in that way. So then, are they going to get good developers? Because what is the definition of good developer? That is also subjective, right? Because what a good developer for each one of us is different. So now we have triple whammy here, which is not working for us. Is the project attractive? Is the team attractive? What is our definition of who we want? Right? If there is no match of the three, like, if the other party doesn't like the attractive project and attractive team, but you may have an attractive project and attractive team, but you don't know who you're looking for, or you're looking for somebody else, then who should be coming to you, then there's a mismatch, right? Or it could be you know who you're looking for, but you're not able to sell your attractive project and your attractive team to that person. There is that other problem as well, the selling problem. Some people are very good at selling it, even if they have nothing. Some people are good at selling it when they have something, and some people are not good at selling it when they have something. So
Yeah.
those are the factors there, and we've only scraped the surface of the first question, right? Which is,
Yes,
what is it?
and
How do you
and
attract
you
good
bring,
developers to a project, a team?
yeah,
And
and you bring a great thing there. Sorry, go ahead, Moni.
no, I'd say we could go all night only on this one question, as Pedro was saying earlier.
Yeah,
And
but we
not
have
finish.
other questions. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, but I'm
There is
saying no.
some.
We have other questions, but I'm saying this question itself is so contentious
Oh
that
yeah.
we can go on talking about it from various angles, and we'll still not finish. You're going to ask me something, Hugo.
Yeah, I see the question. I see the questions from Davi here. Davi Antonio just shared us. He's always studying and dedicating to Java, but it's hard to find a place in a company and be called for internship. Davi, if you can tell a little bit more about what is the internship that you have been called, and why you got a challenge, or why it conflict with the place in your company, it would be great. But as far as I could understand, if it's really good to get to study and dedicate to technology, but I think it's also great to understand what kind of problem your company have to solve, so you can match both things, and maybe you can connect Java with as a solution for that problems, or the side you find the correct or the most in demand language for that problem, that kind of problem, right? I always try to switch a little bit, but of course it is not an easy process. We have to already and get understanding on the company, right? I think I think about that. I don't know if Mane or Gabriel or Pedro want to add something.
No, I think there's nothing more I can add to it. I mean, do you want to say anything about it, Gabriel? Do you want to add anything to Hugo's points?
Sorry, guys, my internet have delay here, and I don't hear all points that the Hugo say.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, why don't you catch up with the conversation? Maybe Pedro, you can add something to what Hugo said. I mean, I couldn't add anything more than what he said because I think that's spot on. You got to match your problem to your problem solution creator, right?
Exactly.
And
And this
if
is I
go on, yeah.
completely agree. It is that one side that we said, right? The 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 interviewee needs to try to match what he knows and what he wants with the interviewer. The interviewer has a problem. Interviewer has a need, right? So when we're talking here about a match, is that exactly the both sides. If I'm more flexible, like I'm being interviewed for my current job, for example. When I was being interviewed, uh, the guy, we were discussing about the problem, and I said that the domain they are working was something that I worked before, and I was interested to working in a fintech side. And they said, "Oh, we have a new project here about the fintech, so we are getting a match." And then the last time they say, "Oh, but here you just work with Python." And I say,
Mm.
"Oh," and I thought to myself, "Oh, but I'm Java specialist. I don't know Python." And they said, "No, but are you willing to learn?" I say, "Yeah, I'm willing to learn." So I knew that we had a good project, an interesting company, but the only thing that wasn't a match is something that I need to be flexible about it. I need to take away or say I will not work with Java, work with Python now, right? Because they cannot change everything from Python to Java, right? So that's maybe sometimes is the case. Sometimes we need to be a little more flexible because the company has much more difficult to change everything than you. So of course you want to be that flexible, or do you want to try another opportunity and try to find a Java one? It's something that we need to match as well, right? So
Yeah,
this is the way we attract each other, right? I can attract the company can attract me.
yeah, actually, yeah, spot on. So there is that angle as well, where are you willing to learn? Are you flexible enough? Are you open enough? And things like that, right?
For sure.
And I think that's an interesting indicator that the company is flexible also to, they know that you are not a Python developer, but even though they see all the other characteristic and start and give this opportunity and try find a path to make it possible, because
To
they
make it
see
work, right?
value on all the other things that you can bring to them. So that's a great way to see, and a great indicator of interesting, of attractive company to work. I think. And well, David, if we answered your question and or not, you can add here and contribute. Also, we had Dimitri's answer for your question to try open source. So it is how he landed to Red Hat, and I think it's a great way to actually have this give visibility of what kind of work that you are able to do, what kind of work that you can value that you can bring. Open source is always a place that you can actually contribute and show your work. I actually working with money. I have a lot of I have we have a repository chatbot conversation. There's a repository that where we create an environment to help people getting started with AI through chatbot conversation. So we create an environment that you can create your own chatbot, and connecting that environment, they will be starting to talk with our own chatbots. It's a really fun conversation that you get. We have to connect with ChatGPT, right, Mani? We are talking about
Yes,
that.
yes, that's the next task. That is the next task.
That's
We are
the
not
next
far away
step.
from it. We will get there. We'll get there. Just the two pull
Yeah, it
request.
will be
Once they
very
get it
interesting.
merged, once the two pull request gets merged, we'll be flying.
Yes, I'm on that PR for a long time, but I'll make it there. And yeah, it's a good way to not just show your work, but also connect with people that probably will be will like to work in the same project that you would like to work. So connect those people that have the same focus as yours. So that is a really great way to do it. To do so.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, as we said, that first question is very contentious, and we can go on talking about it. Maybe we should take a jab at the second one and take a feel, get a feel of what that
Oh
question
yeah.
has for us, right? So, how do we
Yeah.
create good develop? See, we may not be able to answer and solve the first question, right? Which means we haven't got hold of a good developer who would be interested in our project or joining our team, right? A project or a team, not just necessarily our project or our team. So now the other option would be, and that many people are doing or trying to do, is to be able to create a developer from like a less experienced developer to a good developer, right? A good developer that is good as per their guidelines of what good is, right? So because the person who's getting developed will not know what good is, they will have to be guided to that position. So how do you create good developers?
And I think we got the right person to answer this kind of questions. He just arrived here in the room. Hello, Bruno.
Okay.
How are you, man?
My question was
Hey,
so timely. Hello, Bruno. Happy New
yes.
Year.
Hey, Manny, how you doing? So good to see you. How are things there in London? Hey, Pedro.
Fantastic. The temperature has dropped even further. That's as good as
Oh,
it is.
so today we have very good sun here. So actually, the temperature is going up, really, really strong.
Yeah.
So hey, Pedro. Hey, Hugo. How you guys doing?
Well, thanks, Bruno. Thanks for joining us. I think I just want to add also, Gabriel. He's just get back on his connection. Hey, Gabriel, welcome back, man.
I'm back now, guys.
Hey, Gabriel. How
Hi.
you doing?
I'm doing good, and you?
So, Manny, you gotta come to Brazil because the four of us here, we are at driving distance from each other,
Ah, right.
right? So now you need to come. You need to come one time here to visit all of us now.
Are you saying once a month or just once in the whole year?
Oh no,
Or
you
just
come once. I
just
mean,
come?
yeah, you
Okay.
can come any. You can come as many times as you want. But I'm saying that if you come, you can visit all of us at once.
Yeah, exactly. Good idea. Good idea.
Let's try to find out an event that you can come and be a speaker here and spend
That will be awesome.
and then travel around the user groups in Brazil
Oh yes. How many do you have actually?
a lot.
Every region has their own user group, is it?
There are there are places that have more than one, right? So yeah,
Wow.
there
And
yeah.
are you a member of multiple user groups? Apparently, yes.
Yeah, I think I'm the president of So Java. That's a Brazilian Java user group, and So Java is composed of 5 user groups.
Oh,
Right. So
wow.
yeah, because So Java, it's an interesting story because there was the So Java user group, but then when we incorporated and became a nonprofit, the incorporation process, we merged it with 4 other user groups. And so all of us, we incorporated together as So Java, right? So then that's why we have 5 user groups that actually are that makes So Java. So Java is the largest one, it's the strongest, have the best brand, all of that. So that's why the brand survived it. But it's 5 user groups that merged together to become one.
Great. So earlier, before you arrived, and I think you partially heard our question, and Hugo actually spotted you in the lobby. So we could repeat the question for you. Actually, it's in the chat.
Yeah, let's repeat the question because we had some
Yeah. Yeah.
some
So
discussion
the,
in the middle.
so the
So
question,
we can
the
have a lot-
question,
yeah.
absolutely.
But
The
I was,
question,
I was watching you guys. I couldn't join.
Oh, okay.
I was watching you guys for quite a while, right? So yeah, so
All
that
right.
has been
Okay.
interesting so far.
You enjoyed the conversations?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. So the question is how, and this is $1 million question for everybody all around the world in the tech sector. How do we create good developers?
Yeah, that's a very that question. I agree with you, Money. That is $1 million question. Actually, that's probably a several billion dollars question
Yeah.
because the
You can't
developer
put a price to it. You cannot
yeah
put a price to it.
no because the development industry is a huge industry worldwide, right? And we do have a shortage of developers. I think that the artificial intelligence tools we're probably going to make easier for more people to solve problems using software, and the no codes solutions also going to help with that. So I think there's going to be more people that will be creating code, right? But there always going to be a core of people that need to be really writing code to solve the biggest problems, right? I think that's doesn't matter how many developers exist, right? Using no code or artificial intelligence tools,
I agree.
always going to be someone that has to write the artificial intelligence tool, someone that has to write the frameworks that the artificial intelligence tool going to use, right? So so there is, and I think that I like I'm gonna since you dropped that question to me, I'm gonna say the 5 things that developers, that's what I call the 5 skills that a developer have to have, and then what can you do to build that skill on you or someone else, right? And I think that's one interesting thing is that everything that you do for you to improve, you can always help someone else to do the same thing so they can improve, right? So I think that the 5 steps or the 5 skills, umbrella skills that a developer needs is the first one is read code, right? Reading code, I think that's the thing that developers do most. It's amazing how many developers don't read codes every day, right? Or they only read the code that they wrote. And it's amazing how many developers are actually having difficulty of reading code in general, right? So Pedro's mentioned that he had to learn Python for a new job, for example. Reading code in different languages, right? That's reading code too, right? And I think that's a very, very important skill. So reading code is one. Second skill is, of course, writing code, right? I think that being very good at writing code, I think is an important thing that we have to have, and that means being able to understand things like design patterns and understand best practice and understand clean code. All those things are under this umbrella skill, right? Also understanding algorithms and understanding all these are in this umbrella skill. And then the third skill, right? I think the first 3 skills are the skills that make you a developer, right? So the third skill is delivering code, right? I think that we are way past the time that we would just write code to be in the repository, and we never actually get to see. And I work in many projects like this, right? That we work for years, and the code was never seen the light of day because it was just, now that doesn't exist anymore, right? So the more and more it's your job as a developer to make sure that the code is in the hand of someone that's going to use the code, right? So that means understanding the whole cycle of software development, understanding CI/CD, and understanding things like cloud and DevOps and this kind of things. It's all part of our job, right? So those 3 skills make you a developer. The fourth skill is the most important one. You are a developer because you do number 4 by reading, writing, and delivering code. There is solving problems, right? A developer solves problems. And so even if there is an AI that you can just say, I want something, the AI is going to create all the code for you, you're still going to need the skill of solving problems, right? So that's going to still be important no matter what. So solving problems is an amazing, important skill. You are a developer because you solve problems by reading, writing, and delivering code, right? That's my opinion. And so, and those are skills about understanding the problem, listening, and pinpointing, debugging, right? All of those are skills around solving problems that we have to have. And the fifth skill that I think, right, that is not, it's not the most important one, because the most important one is solving problems. Does not make you a developer, because what makes you a developer is reading, writing, and delivering codes, but is the skill that helps you grow in your career and have more influence, right? And that is sharing what you know, right? So, Demetrius here talking about open source, for example, sharing your knowledge through an open source project, mentoring people, having discussions, being able to present your ideas. All of this is important, because software development is a multi-people, multi-skill, multi-everything thing, right? We have to talk. There's lots of people involved. There's all kinds of concepts involved. If we're unable to discuss and present and and understand each other, right, it's really, really hard. So sharing your knowledge, it's amazing important. So my opinion. So now, answer. That was just the idea, right? So my opinion on the question on how do we build amazing developers, right? We help developers to do those 5 things every day, right? Because
Yep.
the only thing that builds a developer is the skill. And his skill, you only have a skill if you do it. If you don't do it, you don't have the skill, right? So someone said here before, I think it was David, that said, I'm studying, but I don't get an internship, right? Well, you got to do, David. I don't care what you're studying. I care what you're doing, right? So you should say, I'm doing all those softwares and I still don't get internship. And that would be a harder question to answer, because if you're doing all those softwares and you don't get an internship, that's probably not true, right? If you're doing lots of software, you will get an internship. That's why Dimitri said, go participate in open source, go do software, right? And that we're going to get you a job. So the solution is, how do we get people to do those 5 things every single day, right? How they can read code, write code, deliver code, solve problems, and share their knowledge every single day. And one example I always like to point out is a girl called Jennifer DeWalt, right? So if you can Google her, Jennifer DeWalt. She had a project called 180 days of code. So if you Google that, Jennifer DeWalt, 180 days, you're gonna find her. And so she was an artist, right? She did performance, nothing to do with software development. In her blog, you're gonna see a picture of her doing like a performance on a stage, right? So that's what she did. And she decided that she was gonna learn how to code, how to be a developer. And she put herself this 180 days. What she did in 180 days, every single day, she defined a problem to solve, right? And then she read code to understand how to solve that problem. She wrote code. She put that code available for other people to use, and she wrote a blog post, right? So she did that for 180 days. By the end of 180 days, she had got a job. She had got a partner to launch a company. And then after that, she launched another company, and she eventually got accepted at Y Combinator, the largest incubator of startups in the world, right? So she went from I don't even know what computers are to being a Y Combinator founder, right? In a year, right? By doing those 5 things. So that's why I think that's how you build a developer. Sorry for the long answer, but
I think some answers need to be complete and concise like that. So it's not a long answer. I think it's a very compact answer, because it solves many people's problems if they focus on those 5 things. And it's interesting you say that, because I started my career only knowing how to write code, right? Not even read code, because reading code came later on. Just write your own code and understand your own code, and sometimes even not know how to read your own code, right?
Right. Yeah.
That was 25, 30 years ago, right? And then I started to read and write code, and then I started delivering code, which was way later, because in the beginning no one is really interested in your code, right? And you don't have your
Right.
code to give to anybody. Then came, the problem solving came all along, actually. Somehow that problem solving was getting built every time I was getting from step 1 to step 3. But the sharing came only 10 years later. Because why would you share your code with anybody, right? In the earlier days, it was possession. I am very possessive of my code. I don't want to give it to anybody. I don't want anybody to see my code. It's secret, right? I think we all have had that, right?
We all had
It's
that.
only
Yes.
10 years later when I discovered, oh, wow, there's this thing called open source, which means you develop in the open, you share your work in the open, others do that as well. You contribute to their work, and they contribute to your work, and they
Right.
even include your work into their systems, right? And that's when the fifth element opened up for me. And then when that started happening, then I started doing presentations, you name it, workshops. And I think you know the rest of the story, Bruno, because I think we've been in the journey around that time. At least I started my journey. My real journey started then, even though my original journey started even way before that.
Mhm.
But yes, I can actually see myself going through all those 5 steps in the last 20 odd years, from like step 1 to step 5. And I hope now I can call myself a good developer. uh,
That's
Still trying
great.
to do all of those things in a balance, but yeah. So yeah, absolutely, I think this is invaluable information for everybody who's interested in investing in developers. When I say investing in developers, it doesn't mean investing money in developers, but investing time, effort, resources to make them good developers,
Mhm.
right? So absolutely, this is
Yeah.
yeah.
And let me point out what Dimitri's saying here, right? That he did a little thesis here on the chat. He says that um, open source is great because you write codes and you work with real people. You have to pass code reviews and fix it. It forces you to collaborate with other people to solve real issues, and it makes you a better developer, right? So potential employees can recognize you as a great candidate, right? So yes, so basically, I think that open source is a way to do all those 5 things every
Yeah,
day.
absolutely.
So if you participate in open source, you can do all those 5 things every day, and that is by itself very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yes, thanks, Dimitri, for summarizing the whole thing there. Yes,
Summarizing all of it. Yeah. I'm
Dimitri
impressed.
represents Red Hat. Dimitri is still with Red Hat, right? Yes.
yes, he said
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, and I think all this open source, I can say that I wasn't so used with contributing open source or creating project in open source. When I started with that and started to interact with other people that is outside my company, that is really amazing because you start to see a whole new bunch of skills that you need to actually interact with other people. And they open source community is very mature on that. That's what I see, how advanced they are in contributing. They are so way advanced, and after having these contacts, I could bring a lot of good practice people do in open source inside company, and I think that helped a lot as well. So yeah, I totally agree with Dimitri. It is an awesome opportunity to to become better developer and also to raise a good developer inside your company.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are a whole lot of companies that are only doing their business open source. Like they write all their code collaborating with all the developers in the world, and they create value-added products around those open source projects. And a lot of companies are providing solutions on other open source projects as well, and not just the ones that they are developing. And so this is a huge market, and it's a growing industry, although maybe it's plateauing now, but even then it's here to stay for quite some time, because it's been done in such big numbers, and there's a massive growth anyways that keeps up the momentum going.
I think that Bruno's answer was so complete that we had the difficult task to actually add something here, right?
Yeah, I think of all the questions so far in that 12 months that we've been doing this, or 11 plus months, I think that question Bruno has just washed out in like 10 minutes. And we've normally never finished a question in 10 minutes. A
but
question would go on for the whole session.
no, I think it's an interesting thing, right? Because we start saying that that's the $1 million, the $1 billion question, because I think it is, right? And one thing in general, this is not really about the code, not being a developer, But one thing in general that I really think that we should try to work with is, what is the largest problem that you can solve, right? So Davi was saying that he's, he accepting suggestions, indications, right? For example, so look around you and try to find out what is the largest problem you can solve, right? If you're just starting, the larger problem you can solve might be very small, right? Maybe the only thing you can do is just go and make your bed in the morning before you get out of the bed or the room, right? Mm-hmm. So no, maybe you're going to start with very small problems. But if you look around and you try to get the largest problem you can solve, right, then that's going to help you grow your career, because then you're going to, solving problems is the most important skill, right? So then you're going to grow. So that's why I think that we here, right, that we're more advanced. We've been working with software development for many years, all that. I think it's our responsibility to look at what is the largest problem that we have, and then try to solve that, right? Because because if developers like us, if we're just doing CRUD systems, right, that's we are underusing our abilities. So I think, and for me, solving that question that you guys ask it, right? It's extremely important problem, because it's $1 billion question. I mean, that's a problem that everyone have, every single developer. Uncle Bob says that every 5 years we double the number of developers, right? So every 5 years, half of the developers are going through those problems, right? And so so I think that's a problem that we as an industry have to tackle. And there's a lot of people doing it. There's a lot of tools out there, a lot of websites of people try to solve this. But the more we understand what the problem is, the better it's going to be for everyone. So I think that's why, the more we can focus on a right answer and go after the right solution, I think that's better for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no point beating around the bush and making it sound it's very complicated, and I'll give you some answer now and I'll give you another answer later on, or it's a long answer and it's hard for anybody to understand. Yeah, I think like the answers you've given really help people, think about it and move forward with it, which is what the saying goes, right, that Hugo wrote the other day. Let's think outside to get further.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I mean,
that's why you got to think outside the box, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've done justice to that question, right? Like, I mean, we can't go on repeatedly saying the same things about that question, and I think it brings us to the next one. That is, then this is quite important as well. How do you sustain and keep good developers from being poached or losing them because they grew too quickly or other reasons, right? So it's a multi-packed question. It's got multiple layers to it. So yeah, maybe you found good developers, maybe you found some good developers and you created some good developers, or maybe you spent all your time creating good developers. All of these three combinations or options are still your assets, right? That you nurtured, you developed, you invested in. Now you want to keep them, right? How do you keep them?
So a good way to tackle that question, I think, would be, if each one of us would say, what would keep you in your company right now? I mean, what would make you not leave your job, whatever job you have right now, or job in the future, right? So, so how about we start with Gabriel? So Gabriel, you're probably the youngest of us here, right? So for your generation, what would make you never leave your company? Dimitri is saying pay them more, right? That's a good goal. Yeah.
That's one incentive, okay, but there might be more.
In my opinion, it's motivation. If you have a good team, you learn more and more, and you grow. Like if you enter in company, your team not giving motivations or don't give insights, or your friends don't give insights to you, you don't grow. Like you how can I say, you don't make a reference in the market, and it's more early. The Bruno and many say things very important, like if you enter in the community, you share your knowledge. I think you share with you guys here in the community. It's Jennifer White. It's I create a blog post with 118 and days and create website. Like if you show your knowledge in internet, you create the opportunities. Like if you don't see, you don't remember the persons, and I think this is my idea.
Okay. So good. So no, being motivated, working a good team, right? Having opportunities to grow. That's a good point.
Like today, I like this. I created the content and help my team. I give motivation my team, and I grow. Like today, my teams see me like a great person
Mhm.
because I give motivation and I try and put new technologies and new partners in the project and try make a good develops in my team.
Okay.
And go ahead. I don't know. I
Cool.
don't. I don't say more.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
don't
That's
have
great.
more words.
So who wants to go next?
Pedro, do you want to talk a little bit?
Yeah, well, I can. I'm not in the beginning as Gabriel. Like, so after some years, we think about lots of things when we think, oh, I want to stay in this company, right? But my case, I think when Dimitri said pay them more, but the money is one of these things, right?
Mhm.
We need to be uh, to 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 be comfortable with the money we're making now, or if you want to go more, right? We need to negotiate that, and then you and have it in your mind. Say, I will stay in this company, even if I don't get that money, or I will leave this company to try to get this money, or may I negotiate that? So then Bruno is much more uh, ha- has much more content about this negotiation part, but the money is really important in this case. When you are growing and the developers grow fast, right? The money and here in Brazil, at least, the money starts really low to developers, and then and the range is really big, so we can start from one, like a minimal salary, and goes to 20 times that, right? So we have a really big range on this, so that's why sometimes it's difficult to follow this different ways that developer salary grows here in developer careers, at least from the juniors to the mid levels, when the other part is the development, I can say. when you are when you are growing, it's interesting to continue in your company. If you in growing, means lots of things. Means experience, means knowledge, means sharing, means uh, trust, means many things. So I think when you look all these things and try to understand what do you like or do you want to your career, and you can see, oh, the company can I can have use this company to continue growing, you can stay, right? So I think the for the developer point of view, it's important to you to understand what do you want for your career. This is really important, and get this focus uh, to make a better decision for you.
Yeah, you say a great point. Like get where you went go. Like if you want to a senior develop senior or senior engineer, you need how can I say get to this road. And if you get another word, like yeah, it's more difficult to get to objective, and this is very true. Like if you don't define you objectives, you don't grow. In my opinion, like I am example, which is I don't have objectives. I don't have plans in the past, and I don't grow. Like I worked more or less 3 years in the company, and I don't like I don't like my job. To the past, but I create my objective, work inside this, and now I work with software engineer. I work in a good company, and I work with the things I like.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
think
another
I,
person.
yeah, I think we are saying the same things about yeah, having goals and objectives is also what your motivation is connected to, right? Because if you don't have goals and objectives, you won't also have a motivation to do something, because your motivation is also gearing towards an end
Yes,
goal, right? So having that motivation and aspiration is important. So they're all kind of interconnected. And then I think Pedro mentioned about the money part, right? But for different people, it's different things. Sometimes you may get the money, but then it doesn't give you fulfillment, which means you will not feel growth, right? And then that money is not helping you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or any other way, right? So only it's helping you only materially, which is not enough. So there has to be that balance, right? Well, like, but for some other people, it could be they want autonomy, right? Because they feel growth when they feel they're given autonomy to do certain things, of course within reasons, right? You don't take over advantage of your autonomy, but you make good use of the autonomy for everybody's benefit, not just yours, but the company's benefit, because and the team's benefits and the others, and maybe the community's benefit, because maybe the autonomy is such that it allows you to work with the community, right? So there are this all of those components and all those aspects uh, that each developer would feel, and and as people grow in age, this will change. When they start, it'll be ambition, aspiration, motivation, and then sometimes eventually they'll realize, oh, I need autonomy, and then the other things will take a little bit of a back seat. But then eventually they'll realize, oh, I've been working so many years, but I'm not getting paid well. I need more money, and I need autonomy as well, and I need those other things as well. you know Depends on who you're talking to. So I mean, if you
Yeah.
look at, there is a website that lists all the benefits, all the I don't know what you call them, the FANG like companies, like that top 5% of the tech industry. There's a website that actually lists for a certain grade in that company, what is the percentage of money they get, and how much percentage of shares they get, and what is their whole package worth. So it has come down to that. And you will not be surprised, some developers can get a total package of $500,000 a year, including stocks and all the benefits and salary and all that stuff. Of course, Silicon Valley, hence expensive. uh, and it can go, yeah, and some have seen even big higher than that. You'll be of course they have highly responsible, sensitive jobs, but it's what keeps them motivated to do that, right? It's because they need, see, the element is here is you want to be rewarded for what you do,
Mhm.
which is, I think, will keep you at the job. If you don't feel rewarded financially and otherwise, you're not going to be motivated to do what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, so the money
Exactly.
needs to be given to you as in a reward fashion, not like drop it onto the desk or into your hands, like you're just been contributed for your what you've done. Okay, go away.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's. Oh, go ahead, you go.
Oh, sorry, brother. I just want to add my point before before I lose time in here. But I think what Manny said is really connected to what I think for me. At least I feel important here is reward or recognition about the work that I do. And if I feel I'm rewarded, and not just rewarded, but also myself, I feel that my skills is impacting in a positive way, and I actually am useful or helping the company grow, or any other thing that I'm doing. I think it doesn't matter if it is inside a company or in your own company, or in your own business. But if I have this, I think three things connected. That is the recognition, the impact, and the usefulness of my work, and the trust between the people that I'm working together. I think that there are three elements that I feel, if they are all aligned, I feel very comfortable where I am. But of course, what Dimitri says, he said a lot about the money and the reality where when you are alone, you cannot worry at all. But when you have the family, you are. It is the most important thing because you are doing for your family, and you have more important thing than you yourself fulfilling your own desires. So yeah, that's true. I think once you have a good salary, don't have to be the highest salary in the market, but you have a salary that is rewarding by your work, that is uh, uh, good for the work that you do, and it's enough for your family. Then I think there's that is the three element that I usually put to myself as, oh, it's a good place, or not. So, Bruno, you can add here.
Yeah. So no. So just gonna say, first of all, what Hugo was talking about in terms of Dimitri. Dimitri says something that's very powerful here. It says because it's hard to explain to our daughter why it's better that dad has an interesting job, but just she doesn't have good insurance, right? So well, you know, explain to your daughter that she doesn't have a good insurance. That's hard enough by itself. But I think that I have a friend of mine that I talked to him a few years ago, and he was all happy that he had changed jobs to a very interesting job, that he would do things, work with new technology, and it was all good. And he even said, and then at one point in the conversation said something like, yeah, man, I'm so excited. I even got a pay cut to accept this job. And I said, okay, that's awesome, right? That's exactly what Dimitri is saying, right? So, and then I was asking, how is your family feeling about you making less money right now? And then he said, well, yeah, it's a little complicated because we had to move to a more dangerous part of the city because I didn't have enough money to pay the apartment, and I had to change my daughter to another school because we couldn't pay for her school. And I said, is she happy? No, she's not happy, because she can't play outside. Her friends she's not with her friends anymore. And I said, how's your wife? And she said, well, my wife cries every day because of the situation. And I said, is that work really worth? Right? So no, so yeah, there is I think that when you're trying to get a developer, because the whole question here is how do you keep the developers, right? So the first thing you have to know is if what you're paying is enough for that developer, right? If you don't understand what the needs of your developer, if you're not talking with them, if you don't see their problems, if you don't see what their dreams and what they want to do, and what are the things that they can't do because they don't receive the money from you, right? You're going to be completely in the dark, right? You're going to hire someone that will try as hard as possible to get out of where you are, right? Same thing that if you don't do this in a constant basis, understand the needs of people, understand how they're growing. You get someone in your team, for example, that has a newborn in the family. right? And they're trying to get in a better apartment, right? Or you have someone that is growing and is a speaker and wants to go to an international trip. I mean, if you don't see those things on your team, on your people, right, and you don't help them get those things, by one of the things is giving them more salary, right? Then they're going to leave, right? Because it's going to be a point that they're going to say exactly like Dimitri. Look, man, I cannot stay here because my daughter is suffering. My wife is crying. So I'm going to leave. I don't care how good the job is. I don't care how interesting the project is. I don't care how amazing the team is. I cannot sustain my family. So I'm going to leave. I'm going to look for something else. And he's not going to tell you, of course, right? He's just going to leave, right? And so I think that consideration is a consideration that the companies have to have. They have to be, it's not about, oh, yes, we have this plan, this growing plan, all that. No, it's about people. It's about understanding what the dreams of people have. If they can have amazing dreams, right? Amazing dreams. And at the same time, they can see those amazing dreams fulfilled while working for your company, they don't have a reason to leave.
Absolutely.
Right? The only reason, the only moment they want to leave is because their dreams are bigger than your company, right?
Yeah.
And then they have to leave, right? So understanding the dreams of your developers, that's an important thing to begin with. And among all this, for me, and I'll answer the question for me, what makes me stay, right? I have a very specific thing that makes me stay is autonomy.
Yeah, you have a good boss, I'll say.
Right. So I mean, I do a lot of things and I get involved in things that I like to do, right? And so if I don't have autonomy to do the things that I think are important to do, I'm not going to stay anywhere, right? I don't care how important the company is, right? I'm not, there is a level of salary, of payments that I need to have, right? And that's important for me. But beyond that basic level, right? For me, what really matters is autonomy, right? If I can get involved in what I think is important, if I can look for the biggest problems and go after the biggest problems, right? Then I'm happy where I am, even though there are other companies that could pay me more, but I'm happy in what I am, right? So for me, I was having a conversation with a guy, Silvio Meira is like one of the big guys in the IT in Brazil. And, he has an amazing book, by the way. Since I mentioned here, when we get to the books, maybe I use his book as an example. But, he has an amazing book. And we're talking about, and he told me, Bruno, you know what's the biggest problem in the IT industry in Brazil? And that was like, tell me, because that's what I want. I want to find out what's the biggest problems that I can solve. I can help solve at least, right? And so he said, it's the lack of leaders. And then he said, not the lack of bosses. There's too many bosses in Brazil, right? But the lack of leaders, the lack of people that take responsibility. Two things on his phrase, right? First of all, he equated leadership as taking responsibility. That for me was mind-blowing, and I totally agree with him, right? But the second thing is that we lack those people in Brazil. So I stopped everything else I was doing. And I said, I'm going to work with Career to help build leaders. That's what I do today because I went after the biggest problem I could solve. I'm still solving a small scale, right? I need to grow to solving a bigger scale. But that kind of autonomy of me being able to go after the biggest problem I can find, that for me is amazingly important because if I don't have that autonomy, then I'm going to be looking around and say, there's so many more interesting problems around me, and I'm here spending my time. Think about it. I have a consulting company, and we work with big banks, big financial institutions, big companies, right? It's fairly common that you're working on a very hard project with tight deadlines. That you spend weekends and nights and doing all this and really putting a lot of effort, right? And in the middle of this whole thing, the project got canceled, right? And so, I mean, you look back and you say, okay, so the last 6 months of my life, it's totally worthless. It was an interesting challenge. I learned more. I grew technically, but there's no result whatsoever, right? In the last 6 months of my life. I mean, that's really, really frustrating. So, so I think that the autonomy to do the important things, right, to do the things that impact people's life, that's for me is what makes a difference.
No, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more on what you're saying, because that's quite key, especially for developers, for whatever reason that is. I think developers wouldn't want to be constrained, if that's the right word.
Mm.
They wouldn't want to feel constrained. And it's not just developers. I think, it's about creative people, right? If you just give an artist or a musician a small block of, like, canvas to draw on, or a very tiny enclosure, and they say go in there and play your music, and the musician is like very uncomfortable in that place, do you think the best music will come from that person? Same with the artist. You give them less than minimum to do the artwork, because they're artists, they might be able to make use of the minimum to get the best, but there's a limit to that, right? The best creativity will come when you leave them with autonomy. You choose what you want to do your art on: paper, stone, leaf, wood, canvas. You want to do it with colors, with crayons, with oil paints. You mix and match, then you get the best out of it, right?
Yeah.
So we've had this conversation several times in so many sessions. Software people are, Hugo's already smiling, so he knows where I'm going with it. Software people are creative people.
Yeah. That's right.
So just like the artists and the musicians and the other creative people, you don't constrain them to get the best results. You give autonomy to your software people.
That's right.
Right? Especially when they are more experienced as well, because they're even more sensitive to lack of autonomy.
Right.
And that's one of the key factors to sustaining your good developers in your team. You can say, hey, we've got a great team, we've got great people here. No, but you're constraining your developers. Then you're not giving them the autonomy, so they're not going to be able to produce the best of work out of their goodwill.
That's right.
That's
Okay,
right.
so if we sum up this whole discussion here, right? That's a very, very good vision on how you can keep your developers, right? And that I mean you, the manager, you, the director, you, the owner of the company, but also you, the developer. If you can help other people in your team, even if you're just a developer, you're not the manager, you're not doing, you can't increase salary, nothing like this. But if you can help people in your team to feel those things, right? You have autonomy, for example, right? To be part of a good team, to be doing something that's important, right? So if you can help those things, then you're gonna help your company to keep the good people, right? So and a lot of times, right, this is easy to do, right? It's just kind of give responsibility to someone, right? Give them autonomy. Don't keep like, oh yes, you're doing just hold everything wrong here. So just kind of give people in a good place for them to work, and that's a good start.
Yeah, and it's one of the factors, right? We haven't covered it all. We don't know it all, and it's so subjective, and it's so different from different perspectives in different environments and different combinations. There's so many combination permutations that we could spend a couple of days talking about it and not finish. But the key ideas are already spoken here and shared here. So Bruno actually has made the entry at the right time today, picking up the right question, washing it out in 10 minutes, and then picking up the next one, and then rounding it off. So we have actually done all the questions in the first time of the history of this out of the box developer session, where we have
That's
completed
good.
all the questions that we intended to complete in a little bit more than the
And then
amount we have allocated, but it's still acceptable and a good accomplishment.
No, that's a good time. 1 hour and a half is a good time to be a conversation with 5 people. That's awesome, and I think
Yeah.
it's so amazing that we can have this conversation here. I love that. So sorry that I couldn't come in the very beginning, but as you said, I got here in the right time. Then that's good.
Yeah, I mean, we were warming up. We were warming up for
Yeah.
30 minutes. You came in, so the session is actually still an hour. We just are still warming up. We need
Cool.
30 minutes more to warm up to really get jump started. But Bruno, you're a special case, right? You just walked in, you slashed all the questions, all of them are resolved. closed?
No. It's the combination, right? I think for this last question, I really think that this. I keep telling this to you, right? I think this last question we could really go over it and summarize all the points, right? And actually make like a more definitive and like concise answer to that, because I really think that we cover all the bases here.
Yes, I think that we got a lot of great insights here, right? So it's a good idea to make it available in a short, so people can actually get the best parts of this video, right? I really appreciated the discussion today. It was amazing tips from every question. I got a lot of new lessons to bring to my team and actually grow myself. So I just want to thank. We are reaching our end of the session as well. I want to keep our tradition by sharing a book for our audience. I hope our audience also could enjoy the whole discussion. Thanks a lot, Dimitri. You contributed a lot here on discussion, but also David, Max, and I see NK Menzu and Jess. So thanks a lot. Hope to see on the next session as well. But yeah, let's go. Let's jump start with the books. What do you think?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
So I will start since I'm here in the biggest window right now. But I want to share the book called the code culture, the culture code, written by Daniel Coyle. I think it's really it's related a lot to this discussion today, since it is a lot about people, about growing your team, growing people, and creating good environment. So I share it here in the chat. I love some of the ideas that is very practical, that you can actually apply to your team if you have there. You don't need to be the exact responsible for the team. Even if you are a member developing in your team, you can also work together to answer some of the questions that it brings to you. So I hope you enjoy. And yeah, who will be the next?
I'm happy to share my book. I've already put it in the chat. It's called Deep Work, and it's also similar, a non-technical book written by this person called Cal Newport. And I've read this book quite a few years ago now, and I've also used the material from the book in my presentations because they are so impactful, that what he shared. And he's given a lot of tips, and especially it's for technical people like us who spend a lot of time behind computers and through smart devices and listening to notifications, that our concentration levels and our focus levels are not really there to that level. When we are doing work, we're getting constantly distracted with notifications and social media and all those kinds of things. And he's actually gone all the way to the other side, where he's actually detoxed himself from all of these things. And the book is a great book to find out how he has done it. It's not a lot of pages to read, but every paragraph you read in there, every chapter you read in there, there's a lot of takeaways. So I highly recommend the book.
Great.
And I have one education today. It's 100 gold lessons. It's not a technical book. It's more soft. Give 100 tips to grow your career, like show difficulties in the career in the software engineer. And I like this book. It's helped me a lot.
Amazing, Gabriel.
Cool. And that's a book from Rafael Del Nero, right?
Yes.
Yes, it's good. So Rafael Del Nero is a Java champion. That's a great book. I helped him review that book. And Rafael was here in my house, right, just last week. And hopefully you're going to meet him again, next weekend. Actually, Money, unfortunately, you are not at driving distance. But we're gonna have a couple of people coming from out of the town next week. So Gabriel, I know Rafael is gonna be here, so hopefully you can come. Gabriel, you, Pedro, and you, Hugo.
He'll go.
Meet everyone on next, not tomorrow, but next Saturday, right? So yeah, so Rafael's gonna
Alright.
be here. That's great.
Any chance of having as a guest on our next session or the session after that?
Rafael
He
Donello.
doesn't have to drive anywhere for that.
Yes, you should invite him. That's great. Yes, I we'll talk to him for sure.
I will leave it to your good hands, yours and Hugo's good hands, to have that guest come in 2 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now, whenever possible.
That's good. Awesome. I'll talk to him. Yes.
Thank you.
Amazing.
So he's there near you, by the way, right? He's in Dublin. But
Oh,
he's
is it?
yes, but he's visiting his family here in Brazil this week.
Ah, I see. I see.
Pedro, do you want to share your
Great.
book?
Yeah, I'm sharing this book. It's called It's in Portuguese, right? It's a Procrastinação, Guia Científico sobre como parar de procrastinar, like procrastination, right? And well, the idea is to be like discuss some scientific talks about procrastination, how to handle that, and how to stop doing that, right? So it's a book that I found it in Kindle Unlimited. I have the signature for Kindle Unlimited. I think it's really worth it. There are lots of not good things there, but there are many good things, and this book was a good one, and I think it's worth sharing it here. Anyone who has Kindle Unlimited can get it for free, but it's not expensive.
Okay.
Great tip. And now I think it's Bruno's time, right, Bruno?
Right. Okay. So I have two books. You know, since Pedro mentioned book in Portuguese, I was going to mention a book in Portuguese. So I'm going to do two books, one in Portuguese, one in English. Right. So my Portuguese book is the book from I just mentioned here, Silvio Meira. Right. So that's the book right here. Is New Business in Brazil. Right. So he talks about startups in Brazil. Right. So that's a great book. It's a very fun book to read. You know, he goes over absolutely everything that you need to build a new business. Although it is in Brazil, but you know, it's you know, you work for any kind of business you're gonna do. Very, very good book done by one of the guys that kind of helped build the software industry in Brazil, and he's an investor, right? So really good book. I put put the link right there. You can get that. Interesting book because it has this large format here, right? I like books with large formats and big letters and things like this. And what made me remember that's my book. It's also big format, right? So that's my book. We're also big letters, right? So and that talks exactly about the discussion we're having here, right? So how to be a great developer. So that's the second book. I put the link there in the chat. Is the best developer job ever. This is in English. You can get this book on Amazon. It's extremely cheap, right? And then you know it's also on Kindle Unlimited, so you don't even need to pay if you don't want to, right? So the best developer job ever. 5 steps for you to have a dream job and high salary and career freedom, right? Because I do believe freedom and autonomy is important for you. So I wrote a book with the steps that you can get that.
You meant to say economically priced, isn't it?
Economically priced.
extremely
Yes,
cheap.
very, very, very easy to buy, right? You know,
Yes.
if you have Kindle Unlimited, you don't even have to pay. So that's great.
You know, because if you introduce your book as very cheap, it doesn't sound
Doesn't sound very good, right? Yeah.
it doesn't sound very good. So you want to
It's
say
a very
economically
valuable.
priced.
It's for the value that the book gives you,
Yeah.
right? It's it's
Value
the
for money.
price.
Yeah.
The price is very low because the value is awesome.
We agree. So that's it. Great. All the 5 books dished out, shared with the network. I'm with the community. I'm hoping each one of those books will be read by some or all the members, and you know they'll help them expand their knowledge and experience, and they'll come back with more questions next time for us
Cool.
to keep us on our toes.
Amazing. So thanks everyone. Hope to see you all next time then. So
Thank you
thanks
very
for
much, everybody.
all the guests here. Also, thanks Gabriel for joining us and contributing this discussion. And yeah, let's. I hope to see you all on the next. It will be in 2 weeks. We'll be doing every 2 Fridays. Okay. So see ya.
All right.
Bye bye.
See you.
See you
Yeah,
guys.
bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Hey, wait. Let's take a picture before.
Okay.
Right? So just give me a second here. Let's take a picture so we can. So just keep waving. Keep waving for 1 second. And smile. Oops. Wait. Okay, again. Smile. One more. 30 seconds. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Thank
thanks,
you.
everyone.
See you all. Bye bye.
See you. Bye-bye.